So when you look at a plant, what do you really see? Is it just a random jumble of leaves and stems and maybe a flower? Well, it's anything but random. Today, we're going to decode the brilliant blueprint that every single flowering plant follows, its master plan for survival.
Because that blueprint, it's hiding in plain sight. Every single part, from the tip of the deepest root to the most vibrant petal, is this masterfully designed solution to one of the fundamental challenges of life. Okay, let's dive into this master plan.
That quote from the legendary botanist Catherine Asaw just hits the nail on the head. It's that fascination we're tapping into today. We're going to explore all that incredible diversity, not as some boring list of parts, but as a story of function and amazing adaptation.
So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start from the ground up, and I mean that literally. We'll dig into the roots, then reach for the sky with the stem, check out the powerhouses, the leaves, then get to the main event with the flowers, and finally, see how the plant secures its legacy with fruits and seeds.
Okay, so first things first. Every plant has to solve two huge problems right away. How do I stay put, and how do I get water and nutrients? The root system is the elegant answer to both. It's the plant's whole foundation.
And plants basically have two main strategies for this. On the left, you've got the taproot system. Think of something like a mustard plant. It has one main, beefy root that drives deep into the soil, like an anchor. Then on the right, you see the fibrous root system. This is what you'd find on a wheat plant. It's this dense, tangled knot of roots spreading out right from the base of the stem. It's perfect for holding on to that top layer of soil.
And if you could zoom way in, right to the very tip of one of these roots, you'd find these incredible specialized zones. First up, you've got the root cap. It's like a tough little hard hat protecting the sensitive tip as it pushes through the dirt. Right behind that is the growth factory, the meristematic region, where cells are just dividing like crazy. Then, in the region of elongation, those new cells stretch out, which is what actually pushes the root deeper. And finally, you get to the region of maturation, where the cells get their jobs and grow these tiny root hairs that just massively increase the surface area for soaking up water.
All right, let's move up from the ground. A plant needs to get its leaves up into the sunshine, and it needs a way to move resources around its body. Well, the stem is the answer. It's both a structural skyscraper and a super efficient internal highway system. And a stem is so much more than just a stick. It's actually engineered with nodes. Those are the points where leaves pop out. And internodes, which are the spaces in between. This whole structure is designed to hold everything up and position the leaves, flowers, and fruits for the best possible success. And running through it is that highway system, a kind of internal plumbing that pulls water up from the roots and sends sugars down from the leaves.
Now for the engine room. The leaves are the plant's power plants. Seriously, they're these perfectly designed, incredibly sophisticated solar panels, all built to do one thing: capture sunlight and turn it into energy.
And you can see a really key difference in leaf design right here. A simple leaf has just one single undivided blade, but a compound leaf is different. Its blade is actually divided up into a bunch of smaller leaflets. A neem leaf, for instance, is pinnately compound, with leaflets arranged along a central stalk. And a silk cotton leaf is palmately compound, where all the leaflets radiate out from one point, kind of like the fingers on your hand.
But it's not just about the shape of the leaf. It's also about where you put it. Phyllotaxy, that's the scientific term for how leaves are arranged on the stem. And this is no accident. It's a very precise, calculated pattern to make sure every leaf gets as much sunlight as possible without shading out its neighbors. It's brilliant.
There are three main patterns. You've got alternate, where you get one leaf per node, kind of like a spiral staircase going up the stem. Then there's opposite, where a pair of leaves pop out at each node, right across from each other. And finally, whorled, where you get a whole ring of 3 or more leaves all at the same spot. This mathematical precision is so efficient, it's actually inspired human designs for things like solar panel arrays. Pretty cool, huh?
It's this level of intricate, functional design that so fascinated the scientist we quoted earlier, Catherine Asaw. So much of our modern understanding of this whole master plan is thanks to her groundbreaking work. She didn't just describe the parts of a plant, she figured out how they grew and developed, revealing the processes behind all these amazing patterns.
I mean, what a career! Born in Ukraine, she became an absolute giant in her field. Her book, Plant Anatomy, was so important it was nicknamed the Webster's of Plant Biology. She was only the 6th woman ever to be elected to the National Academy of Sciences, and she even received the National Medal of Science. Her work completely shaped the field, giving us the language to even talk about the wonders we're exploring today.
All right, now for the main attraction, the flower. This is the grand finale of the plant's whole growth cycle. It's really just a highly modified shoot, but it's also this beautiful, complex machine built for one primary goal: sexual reproduction.
So a typical flower is organized in 4 layers, or whorls. Working from the outside in, you start with a calyx. That's made up of the sepals, which protect the flower when it's just a bud. Then you have the corolla. Those are the brightly colored petals designed to attract pollinators. Inside that, you have the androecium, which are the male parts, and right in the very center is the gynoecium, the female parts.
And just like with the leaves, there's a strategy for how flowers are arranged. We call it the inflorescence. In a Racemose arrangement, the main stem just keeps on growing, producing new flowers up at the top. But in a Cymose arrangement, the main stem actually ends in a flower, which stops its growth, so new flowers then have to bloom from the sides. 2 totally different blueprints for showing off the goods.
Okay, here's a fascinating little detail. Have you ever really thought about how all those delicate petals are so perfectly packed inside a flower bud before it blooms? It's not random. It's like floral origami, and there's a specific architectural term for it.
And that term is aestivation. It's basically the plant's packing strategy for its flower parts. The way the sepals and petals are arranged relative to each other inside that unopened bud is actually a key characteristic botanists use to identify different plants.
And there are several main types. In Velvet, the edges just meet perfectly without overlapping. In Twisted, each petal's edge overlaps its neighbor in a consistent direction, creating this cool pinwheel effect. Imbricate is more of an irregular overlap. And Vexillary is a really specific arrangement you see in flowers like peas, with one huge petal covering 2 side ones, which then cover 2 tiny ones in the front. Just amazing, right?
So the flower has done its job, fertilization has happened, now the mission changes. The plant's entire focus shifts to one thing: producing the next generation. And it does that by developing fruits and seeds.
So let's compare the 2 major seed types. A dicot seed, like a pea, has 2 embryonic leaves called cotyledons. Think of them as the embryo's packed lunch. A monocot seed, like a kernel of corn, only has 1 cotyledon, and its food is stored separately in a tissue called the endosperm. Monocots also have these cool protective sheaths that act like tiny helmets for the new shoot and root as they start to grow.
And that brings us full circle, from the roots anchoring it in the ground, to the stem holding it up, to the solar panel leaves, the reproductive flowers, and the protective seeds. Every single part we've talked about is a critical piece of the plant's master plan. Nothing is wasted. Everything has a purpose.
So the next time you see a flower, or a weed pushing through the sidewalk, or a giant tree, don't just see a plant. See the plan. See the ingenious solutions. Now that you know how to read the blueprint, what new details and amazing strategies are you going to discover in the world right outside your door?